Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. We're going to be exploring something pretty fascinating today.
Yeah, this one's going to be really interesting.
Today we're going to be looking at a chapter
Hmm. Hmm.
from Dr. Elhanan Gazit's upcoming book, The Gaming Plus Generation.
Oh, very cool.
So this chapter is called #What is the Metaverse? When a science fiction story becomes reality.
Interesting.
So we're going to be taking a deep dive into the metaverse.
Yeah.
This concept that seems like it's rapidly
Right.
moving from science fiction to just our everyday reality.
Absolutely. And to guide us through this complex topic, we have the expertise of Dr. Gazit himself,
Perfect.
whose work focuses on gaming the metaverse and digital innovation. And I love his motto, think fast, level up smart. I think it really captures what we're going to explore today.
I love that too.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about what this chapter, what's the main thrust of it?
Yeah, so this chapter really dives into the evolution of the metaverse concept. It takes us back to its origins in science fiction and philosophy, and examines how this once fictional idea is now shaping the technology and experiences of today.
So we're basically time traveling through the evolution of the metaverse,
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
starting with fiction and ending up in the present day.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and the chapter uses some really intriguing examples
Okay.
to illustrate this journey. For instance, it starts by throwing us right into the world of Ernest Cline's Ready Player One. You remember the Oasis, that incredibly immersive virtual reality world?
Oh, yeah, of course. I loved that book.
Yeah.
And the movie.
Great movie.
I remember thinking how cool the Oasis was,
Right.
but it seemed so futuristic.
Well, that's the thing. Ready Player One, written back in 2011, actually predicted many aspects of the metaverse that we are seeing emerge today.
Wow.
It's like Klein had a glimpse into the future.
Okay, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So this chapter is arguing that what was once science fiction is now becoming reality.
Exactly. And that raises a crucial question that the chapter grapples with. Is the metaverse meant to expand our world or to replace it? Thinkers like Yuval Noah Harari, the author of *Sapiens*, have expressed concerns about the potential for the metaverse to become a form of escapism, leading us to neglect the real world.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be exciting,
Mm-hmm.
but also a little bit concerning at the same time.
Absolutely. And the chapter acknowledges those concerns, but takes a more optimistic stance.
Okay.
It argues that the metaverse isn't necessarily about escaping reality, but about enhancing it.
Okay.
And to understand this perspective, the chapter takes us on a journey through the history of the metaverse concept, tracing its roots back to science fiction.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, we start with Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash,
Yeah.
published in 1992. It's the book that actually coined the term metaverse.
Oh, wow.
Stephenson imagined a dystopian future where people escape a decaying real world by immersing themselves in a virtual reality realm.
Snow Crash, that's a classic.
It is.
I remember reading that years ago,
Yeah.
being blown away by his vision, but it seemed so far-fetched at the time.
Right. But now elements of that vision are starting to materialize.
Wow.
And the chapter also discusses Ready Player One, which, although written later, paints a more optimistic view of a virtual world where people can connect, create, and even find purpose.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we have these two kind of contrasting visions
Yeah.
of the metaverse, one dystopian and one more optimistic.
Right.
How does the chapter reconcile these different perspectives?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The chapter argues that the key lies in understanding the distinction between virtual reality, or VR, and the metaverse.
Okay.
While VR is simply a technology that creates immersive environments, the metaverse is a much broader concept.
Okay.
It's about the convergence of the physical and digital worlds, blurring the lines between the real and the virtual.
Okay, so VR is just one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
The metaverse is so much more.
Right.
But how do we even begin to understand this idea of merging the physical and digital?
Well, that's where philosophy comes in.
Okay.
The chapter introduces some thought-provoking ideas from philosophers like Jorge Luis Borges and Jean Baudrillard to help us unpack the relationship between reality and its representations in the metaverse.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How can philosophers help us understand something as technical as the metaverse?
We'll take Borges' short story on exactitude in science.
Okay.
It tells the story of a map that's so detailed and accurate that it becomes useless. It covers the entire territory. It's meant to represent rendering it pointless as a navigational tool.
Right.
This story serves as a powerful analogy for the potential pitfalls of the metaverse.
So if we try to perfectly replicate reality in the metaverse, it might lose its meaning and purpose.
Exactly. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of mistaking the map for the territory.
Right.
And then we have Baudrillard and his concept of hyperreality. He argues that in our postmodern world, simulations and representations can become more real than real, blurring the lines between what's authentic and what's constructed.
So how does that relate to the metaverse?
Well, imagine spending so much time in a virtual world that it starts to feel more real than the physical world.
Okay.
The metaverse, with its immersive environments and increasingly realistic simulations, could create a hyperreality where we lose touch with the tangible world around us.
Yeah. That's a little scary.
Yeah, it's a bit mind-bending.
Yeah.
And that's precisely why it's so important to think critically about the metaverse and its potential impact on our lives. This chapter doesn't shy away from those difficult questions. In fact, it goes on to present us with contrasting visions of the metaverse from prominent figures in the tech world.
Okay, like who?
Well, we have Mark Zuckerberg, who sees the metaverse as the future of social interaction, a place where people can connect and build communities in virtual spaces.
Okay.
Then there's Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, who focuses on the tools and technologies for building the metaverse, emphasizing its potential for creation and innovation.
Okay, so we've got Zuckerberg focusing on social aspects and Huang on the creative and technical aspects. Where does Harari fit into all this?
Well, that's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
The chapter acknowledges Harari's concerns about the metaverse becoming a form of escapism, but it ultimately challenges his perspective.
Okay, so the chapter argues that the metaverse doesn't have to be a dystopian escape from reality.
Exactly. Instead, it presents a vision of the metaverse as something that can actually enhance our lives in the real world.
Okay, I'm interested. How does it make that argument?
Well, it dives into real-world examples of how the metaverse is already being used to improve our experiences in areas like work design and even scientific exploration.
Okay.
And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll be exploring those examples and seeing how they demonstrate the potential for the metaverse to be a force for good in our world.
I'm ready to dive into those examples.
Great.
This has been fascinating. I can already see how the metaverse is shaping up to be one of the most transformative technologies of our time.
It certainly is. And the more we understand about its origins, its philosophical underpinnings, and its real-world applications, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this evolving landscape and harness its potential for good.
I'm excited to keep going.
Me too.
This is great.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see everybody next time for part 2.
See you then.
Okay, so we journeyed through, like, the metaverse's origins in science fiction.
Right.
Explored some of the philosophical dilemmas it presents.
Yeah.
Now I'm really curious to see how these, like, kind of abstract ideas are manifesting in the real world. What kind of tangible examples does the chapter offer?
Well, remember how we talked about the chapter's argument that the metaverse can enhance reality rather than just replace it?
Right.
To illustrate this, it brings up some compelling real-world applications that might surprise you.
Okay, let's dive into those. What are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, the chapter highlights Meta's Horizon workrooms.
Okay.
You can think of it as a virtual office space where colleagues can collaborate even if they're miles apart.
I've heard of Horizon workrooms.
Yeah.
To be honest, I always pictured it as a bit of a gimmick. Like, is it really more effective than just using video conferencing?
That's a fair question. But the chapter points out that Horizon Workrooms goes beyond simple video calls.
Okay.
It leverages VR technology to create a much more immersive and engaging experience.
Okay.
Imagine being able to brainstorm on virtual whiteboards, share 3D models, and even have your real-world desk setup integrated into the virtual space.
Okay. I see how that could be more beneficial than a standard video call.
Right.
It sounds like it could really enhance collaboration and make remote work feel much more connected.
Exactly. And the chapter emphasizes how this application wouldn't be possible without the advancements made in gaming technology.
That's interesting.
Think about it. The realistic avatars, the spatial audio, the ability to interact with virtual objects, all of these elements have their roots in gaming.
Right. It makes you realize how gaming has been pushing the boundaries of these technologies for years.
Yeah.
And now those innovations are spilling over into other areas like work and collaboration.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to office environments. The chapter also discusses NVIDIA's Omniverse, a platform that's being used to create digital twins of real-world objects and environments.
Okay, I've heard the term digital twin thrown around.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure what it means. Can you explain it?
Imagine creating a virtual replica of a city so detailed that you can simulate traffic flow test building designs before construction or even model the spread of diseases. That's what Omniverse allows you to do.
Mm.
It's like having a giant virtual sandbox where you can experiment and solve real-world problems in a safe and controlled environment.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie,
Yeah.
but it's happening right now.
It is. And the chapter highlights how Omniverse is being used in various fields, from architecture and engineering to manufacturing and urban planning. It's a testament to the metaverse's potential to not just entertain, but to actually make a real-world impact.
I'm starting to get a sense of the sheer scale and potential of the metaverse.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, a part of me still wonders if these are just niche applications.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, but not necessarily game changers. Does the chapter address this at all?
It does, and that's where it introduces a truly groundbreaking example, World Labs.
Okay, World Labs, remind me what that is again.
World Labs is an AI startup that has developed technology capable of transforming a single image into a fully explorable 3D world.
Wait, you're telling me they can take a simple photograph and create an entire 3D environment from it?
It sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, how's that even possible?
Their AI is trained on a vast data set of images and 3D models, allowing it to understand the spatial relationships and depth cues within a 2D image. It can then extrapolate that information to create a complete and realistic 3D model, filling in the missing parts based on its knowledge of the world.
So you could take a picture of your child at home. And this AI could create a virtual world where you could walk around, explore every nook and cranny, and relive those memories in a completely immersive way.
Exactly. And the implications go far beyond just personal nostalgia. The chapter suggests that this technology could revolutionize fields like archaeology, history, and even criminal investigation.
Oh, wow.
Imagine being able to virtually reconstruct ancient ruins or crime scenes from limited photographic evidence.
That's mind-blowing.
It is.
It really highlights how the metaverse isn't just about creating fantasy worlds.
Right.
It's about expanding our understanding of the real world in ways we never thought possible.
Precisely. And this brings us back to the chapter's core argument that the metaverse is not about escaping reality, but about enhancing it.
Okay, so we've seen some pretty amazing examples of how the metaverse is being used in fields like work design and even historical preservation.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the human element? Where do we as individuals fit into all of this?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Because the chapter argues that the metaverse isn't just a technological landscape, it's a social one.
Okay.
And its future will be shaped not just by engineers and developers, but by all of us, the users, who will inhabit and shape these virtual worlds.
So it's not just about passively consuming whatever experiences the metaverse offers.
Right.
We have a role to play in shaping its evolution.
Absolutely. And that's where gaming comes into play again.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does gaming have to do with the social development of the metaverse?
Think about it. Gamers have been inhabiting and shaping virtual worlds for decades. They've formed communities, built economies, and even created their own cultures within these digital spaces. They understand the dynamics of virtual interaction, collaboration, and competition in ways that most of us are just beginning to grasp.
So gamers are kind of like the pioneers of the metaverse.
Exactly. And the chapter argues that we can learn a lot from the gaming community as we navigate the evolving landscape of the metaverse. Gamers have a deep understanding of what makes virtual experiences engaging, immersive, and meaningful. They've also grappled with the challenges of online communities such as toxicity and harassment, and have developed strategies for fostering positive and inclusive environments.
So the chapter suggests that we should look to the gaming world for insights into how to build a better metaverse.
It does. And it underscores the idea that the metaverse isn't just a technological phenomenon, it's a social and cultural one. Its success will depend not just on the technology itself, but on our ability to create virtual spaces that are inclusive, engaging, and ultimately beneficial to humanity.
Well, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Mm-hmm.
The metaverse is more than just VR headsets and 3D avatars.
Right.
It's a reflection of ourselves, our values, and our aspirations.
Yeah.
And its future will be determined by how we choose to shape it.
Precisely. And that's a powerful message to carry with us as we continue to explore this exciting and uncharted territory.
This conversation has certainly given me a lot to think about. I'm excited to see how the metaverse continues to evolve.
Yeah.
And what role we as individuals and as a society will play in shaping its future.
Me too. And I think the chapter we've been discussing offers a valuable framework for understanding this complex and rapidly changing landscape. It reminds us that the metaverse is not just a technological innovation, but a reflection of our human desires for connection creation and meaning-making.
And speaking of meaning-making, The chapter wraps up with a really intriguing discussion about the potential for the metaverse to empower individuals in profound ways.
That's right. It suggests that the metaverse could provide us with unprecedented opportunities for self-expression, creativity, and even personal growth. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore how the metaverse could empower us to live richer, more fulfilling lives, both within the virtual world and beyond.
I can't wait to delve into that.
Oh.
This conversation has been an incredible journey so far, and I'm eager to see where it takes us next. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the metaverse's evolution from science fiction to reality. We've explored the philosophical considerations, and we've even seen some real-world examples of how it's being used today. But there's one final piece of the puzzle I'm really excited to explore, and that's the potential for the metaverse to empower us as individuals.
That's right. The chapter concludes by shifting its focus from the broad implications of the metaverse to its impact on our individual lives. It argues that the metaverse has the potential to be incredibly empowering, giving us new tools for creativity, self-expression, and personal growth.
You know, when we first started talking about the metaverse, I have to admit I was a bit skeptical. I thought of it as just another form of entertainment or escapism. But the more we've discussed it, the more I'm starting to see its potential for something much deeper.
It's a common misconception. We often associate the metaverse with virtual reality gaming and social media, but the chapter encourages us to think beyond those initial associations and to consider the metaverse as a platform for human potential.
Okay, so how does the chapter suggest the metaverse can empower us? What specific examples does it give?
Well, it starts by highlighting the metaverse's potential for creativity. Imagine a world where you're no longer limited by the constraints of the physical world. A world where you can build anything you can imagine, design your dream home, compose a symphony, or even sculpt a virtual masterpiece, all with the power of your mind, the tools of the metaverse.
That's a pretty powerful image. It's like taking the concept of imagination and giving it tangible form.
Exactly, and the chapter argues that this creative freedom can extend beyond the arts. It suggests that the metaverse could empower us to become entrepreneurs, innovators, and problem solvers. Imagine being able to prototype your business ideas in a virtual environment, test out different strategies, and connect with collaborators from all over the world.
I see what you're saying. It's like the metaverse could become a giant incubator for ideas and innovation, a space where the barriers to entry are lower and the possibilities are limitless.
Precisely. And this potential for empowerment extends to the realm of personal growth as well. The chapter discusses how the metaverse could provide us with opportunities to explore different aspects of ourselves, experiment with new identities, and push the boundaries of our comfort zones.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. The metaverse could be a safe space to try new things, take risks, and discover hidden talents without the fear of judgment or real-world consequences.
That's a key point. The metaverse could offer a level of anonymity and freedom that's difficult to find in the real world. This could be especially empowering for individuals who feel marginalized or constrained by societal norms.
So the metaverse could be a tool for personal liberation, allowing us to break free from the limitations we often face in our everyday lives.
Exactly, and the chapter reminds us that this empowerment isn't limited to the virtual world. The skills, knowledge, and confidence we gain in the metaverse can translate to real-world benefits. Imagine honing your public speaking skills in a virtual conference or practicing a new language with native speakers from around the globe.
So the metaverse can be a training ground for real-world success, a place to develop ourselves and equip ourselves with the tools to thrive.
That's a powerful way to put it, and ultimately that's the message the chapter leaves us with. The metaverse isn't just a technological evolution. It's an opportunity for human evolution, a chance to expand our horizons, unlock our potential, and create a better future for ourselves and for the world.
Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've gone on a journey from skepticism to genuine excitement about the possibilities of the metaverse.
Yeah.
It's clear that this is a technology with the power to reshape our world in profound ways.
It certainly is, and the chapter we've explored today provides a valuable roadmap for navigating this new landscape. It encourages us to approach the metaverse with a sense of curiosity, critical thinking, and a commitment to shaping it into a force for good.
And that's exactly what we need to do. We can't just sit back and wait for the metaverse to happen to us. We need to actively participate in its development and ensure that it reflects our values and aspirations.
I couldn't agree more. The metaverse is an invitation to create a world that is more inclusive, more creative, and more empowering for everyone, and I, for one, am incredibly excited to see what we build together.
I am too, and I think that's a perfect note to end on. So to all of you listening out there, I encourage you to explore the metaverse with an open mind, a sense of wonder, because the future is ours to create.
Until next time, keep diving deep, and remember, Think fast, level up smart.
That's right. And don't forget to check out Dr. Gazit's book, The Gaming Plus Generation, when it's published. It's a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the future of technology and its impact on our lives.
See you in our next deep dive.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. This is The Deep Dive signing off.